Right, software sales reps. If you're an AE that gets warm leads from marketing, partners, referrals, if you're an SDR that's getting inbound, this can be really helpful for you because this is all around inbound lead mastery, leveraging my 0 to 5 method. So what I'm walking through is where is it happening in the journey, setting the stage, how the method works, how to think about tiering and prioritizing, and then giving you a step-by-step cadence walkthrough and leave you with some pro tips. So really quickly, just if you're unsure of like how the customer journey works, step one is awareness. They don't even know that they have a problem, but there's something there. Then you're trying to get them to confirm that there is a problem and really start to look at solutions. This is when the inbound potentially happens. They're anywhere from 60 to 90% of the way through the decision-making process. That's the thing. And then they go into the purchase mode and where it is. So it's really good because they're very warm and you don't have to break in and let them know that, hey, there's a problem that they need to solve, but there's a downside. And the downside is typically with inbound, you have less control and it's a lower deal size. So just knowing that going into that, the interactions and the psychology, it's gonna be a little bit different than outbound. Outbound, it's harder to create the op, but once you do, you have much more control and it's easier to get above the power line. For inbound, it's just harder to get above the power line. Not impossible, just more challenging. So just setting the stage for you. So a couple things to call. I'm not going to read these, but the thing you have to know is if it's inbound, time is of the essence. First responders win up to 50% of the deals simply because they respond first. That goes into a better customer experience. After then after 10 minutes, your results drop almost up to 10x. Think about that. So it's a massive drop. So speed to lead is everything. If you take nothing else away from this, if you're struggling with converting warm leads, take a look at how fast you're responding to them. This should be measured in seconds and minutes, not hours. Follow-ups and channels. The thing you want to call out is you want to follow up a lot. Most reps give up after 4 attempts when the real money gets made after the fifth and beyond. And if you think about touching them at least 16 times over 2 to 4 weeks, that's what's going to give you the highest results because that's what the highest performing sales organizations in the world are doing. So to be the best, you learn from the best. And ideally, you want to be using multiple channels. 3 or more is really the sweet spot. Definitely not 1. 2 is better than 1, but 3 is really what I've seen as a sweet spot here. And then if you can, get on a texting basis, start to get leverage social, it can be really valuable. But pro tip on social, just because you're on LinkedIn, don't assume your prospects are on LinkedIn. So if your buyers are not on LinkedIn, don't use it. So bottom line, reach out to your warm leads fast, reach out to them consistently for at least 2 weeks, and then reach out to them using at least 3 channels. The thing I want to reframe though is the goal is to exhaust all potential methodically here. The goal is not to book meetings. The goal is not to have conversations. The goal is to exhaust all potential methodically. So if you shift your mindset around on thinking about how you work leads, and the same mindset goes to breaking into cold accounts, through my 5x8 prospecting framework for cold outbound, it's a similar mindset. The goal isn't to break into accounts. The goal is to exhaust all potential because that's what's in your control, right? So make sure that mindset frame is in the right spot and it's going to help deliver maximum results. So high level, how does it work? Basically, each attempt, you're skipping 0 days, then 1 day, then 2 days, so on and so forth, all the way up until 5 days in between attempts. Okay. Then you're going to pick 3 reach out channels: call, text, email, social. Those are typically the big 4. So pick 3 of those that work best for you. You're going to want to make at least 6 attempts across 3 channels. So think about each of those attempts is using all 3 channels. So if you think about at least 6 attempts, that means there's 18 touches or more being had on that lead. Because again, that's how you're going to exhaust it. So digging into it, things to know: not every inbound lead is created equal. A trial sign up is not the same as an ebook. And what I want you to pay attention to is when it's gated content, webinars, events, the topics that are covered make a big difference on whether or not someone's really ready to buy. If someone's thinking about how to properly evaluate CRMs as the ebook they just download, That's a different mindset than tips and tricks for sales rep productivity. You follow? So think about the content because that can help influence how you think about approaching those leads. And then knowing that you're someone who's VP, CEO, or in the C-suite, it's going to be a higher quality lead than someone who's a sales rep or an intern or an individual contributor. So just taking these things into consideration because not every lead's created equal and you shouldn't work them all equally. So here's a breakdown of the attempt tiering grid. So on the y-axis, it's your personas. So tier 1 above the power line, tier 2 at the power line, tier 3 below. And then on the x-axis, horizontal axis, it's the type of lead. So if you think about working from bottom left to upper right, it helps you understand a good sense of how many attempts you should be making per lead at a minimum of 6, all the way up to 14 attempts or even more to make the most and exhaust all potential methodically. So that's what I want you to think about this. This is a great slide. If you want a screenshot, keep it at your desk and use it. Now, how do you make it work for your situation? If you're only getting 10 leads a month, then every lead's a tier 1 because you don't get a lot. Even a tier 3 warm inbound is typically still closer to revenue than a cold account. So, those leads are precious. Squeeze every drop of value you can out of them. Example B, you're getting thousands of leads a month. Just lower your attempts. You want to make sure you're working all the leads methodically, but lower the attempts on the tier 3s the most, tier 2 second most, and then lower the attempts on tier 1 if you have to the least. Now, how does it work? So this is like a breakdown of a day-by-day breakdown. So let's say week 1, on Monday, the lead comes in. Ideally, you're doing 2 attempts, morning, afternoon. Okay. Day 2, attempt 3, skip a day. Day 4, skip 2 business days. Attempt 5, skip 3 business days. Attempt 6. Okay. So this is like the minimum if you're having a tier 3 lead. Now going into a tier 1 lead, this is where you want to think about. You're basically doubling up and spreading out the attempts. So day 1 and day 2, you're doing 2 attempts each day, right? Because this is a high quality lead. So you want to work very hard to try to connect with them. And then you just break it down all the way through the end of week 4, where you're having attempt 14. So if these are really great leads, doesn't mean you have to stop here. But generally speaking, if you've reached out to someone this many times and you're not getting any response, they're probably not interested and you're probably not going to yield much results. So just a pro tip for you to think about. So a couple of things when you're reaching out, just to help you make the most of this. Number 1, your reach out reason should be anchored to their action. The reason for my call, the reason for my email is you did Y, right? Because that helps them know, because this isn't a cold attempt. They came to you, they expressed some type of action. That alone is going to help significantly reduce them having frustration, free reaching out, help you get connections. Don't sell, even if it's a warm lead, even if they're signing up for a trial or a demo. Don't sell. Seek to understand. Try to understand why they did the thing that they did, because that's what you're focused on to see if you can help them. Build out your templates per attempt in advance. Your attempt 1 template is going to be different than your attempt 7, 8, 9, right? You want to have a little personalization, not too much. The study and data shows that you're around 10 to 20% personalization is kind of the sweet spot if you're doing a lot. But if you're reaching out to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, do as much personalization as humanly possible. Swap swap contacts out, in and out. As people are responding, get them out of there. If they express different actions, it's not uncommon for someone to download an ebook, then download another ebook, right? That can upgrade the tiering because that's showing a lot of interest. I mentioned this before. Don't use LinkedIn if your buyers aren't on there, okay? And last but not least, don't get fancy. This is about keeping it simple so it's maximum effect with minimal energy. So use this